Have you set a goal for yourself, but sit back and wonder why you haven't achieved it yet? Then today's episode might be exactly what you need to hear.
Welcome to Fox Talks Business Podcast with your host, Tanya Fox. Tanya has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, owning retail, service, and franchise. She holds no punches and is never afraid to talk about the nitty-gritty. Together, you'll explore the good, the bad, and the motivational of business life, turning obstacles into opportunities and failures into successes. So grab your favorite drink and let's have some fun. Here's your host, speaker, crafter, and collaborator, Tanya Fox.
Hey, Foxy listener, thank you for tuning in to episode 63. Just before we get started, I wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to all of you who have been able to make it or even watch afterwards our Facebook and Instagram lives where I've been going every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to talk about collaboration and your business. I've been so inspired and motivated by all of the emails and messages that I've been getting, and just keep them coming. I'm so enjoying it. A lot of you have been asking about my collaboration mastermind and when that is going to be opening again, and we have decided that we are going to be opening it up again for registration in June. So just head over to our Facebook and Instagram and follow us for all of the details that are going to be coming out shortly. Now let's dive into today's episode. I want to tell you a little bit more about Nicole before we get started. Nicole worked for 10 years at a large Canadian corporation, Canadian Tire. All my Canadians out there, woo woo, we love our Canadian Tire. And she was doing the 9 to 5. She was working in strategy, merchandising, and business consulting. She had graduated from Wilfrid Laurier University in Canada with an honors Bachelor of Business degree. But she always had a passion to coach others to help them improve their results. So she decided to leave her corporate job and is now a positive psychologist, a certified holistic life and mindset coach, a speaker, and an author. And she deals with empowering individuals and businesses on how to use the power of your mind to achieve real improvement and permanent results. She has a lot of great tips, so let's dive in. So thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Nicole.
Well, thank you for having me.
So for those listeners that are new to you, tell us a little bit about your background, about your story of how you got to where you are right now.
For sure. So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur today, and I have been it's been about 7 years, do the math. But my journey really started, I guess I would say 17 years ago. I was in university for business. So I went to school for business, but I had a health episode. So I have multiple sclerosis. No one would know to meet me today. For anyone who, if they could see me, you would never know to meet me. But that was really a big life shift for me. It caused me to see the world a bit differently, to see myself differently. I literally became extremely passionate about health and nutrition and healing and changing. So anyways, I really dug into that kind of avenue. And that's one of the things that sparked my desire to eventually get into the field of helping others in some capacity. It was at the time I thought it was going to be health. It's evolved a bit now to be more holistic than that. But that was one of the sparks. And also my parents are entrepreneurs. So I did grow up in an environment where, when you grow up in that environment, it seems normal. So it didn't seem like a crazy thought. Like, that's just what we do. So yeah, so I worked in corporate so after I graduated, after that MS experience, I did recover within about 2 months. So I did fully recover, fully regain functionality, and I've been virtually symptom-free since that time almost, which I can share in another episode or something. If someone else wants to ask about that separately, I'm happy to share that story. But I worked in corporate for 10 years at a large Canadian retail corporation, Canadian Tire. All the Canadians will know that. But if there's any other countries listening, they probably don't know what Canadian Tire is. But I worked there for 10 years in marketing and business development and consulting and a few different areas. And I decided to leave that 9 to 5 comfortable, safe place, which I actually really enjoyed. So despite a lot of people's journey into entrepreneurship, I really enjoyed my career. I really liked it. It wasn't my purpose and deep passion, but it's a great place. I really enjoyed working there, I was fairly successful. I was moving up, and I really enjoyed the impact I was making. But I decided to branch off and open a retail health food store. So it kind of connected these dots. It was retail, which I had a background in, and business I had a background in, and health I had a background in, and I'd been studying health and nutrition on the side. So I kind of opened this thing that seemed like it made sense. It's like connects all the dots.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it was like on a resume, it was a franchise. And on a resume, it's like, oh, you're the perfect candidate. You have all these different pieces that make logical sense to open this business. And it went well for the first couple of years. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, as it is any entrepreneurial journey. But I definitely, when you have a physical business that's open 7 days a week, there's a different level of your physical body has to be committed to that.
Right. Yeah. And especially with a franchise too, because there's all those other pieces that go into it.
Yes, I guess. Yeah. If you have or had a franchise business.
Yeah, I have had. And yeah, it's a little bit of a different dynamic because you have some restrictions, I guess is the easiest way to put it.
And we were in a shopping mall. So also you have the restriction of the time, like the hours of the mall attached to the mall hours. But for sure, there's a lot of, the franchise thing is interesting because there is this safety net of like someone's kind of made this template that you can follow, but then you're also really restricted in your ability to make it your own and to make flexibility and make change that you might think would be beneficial because you're attached to the franchise. So they have their pros and cons, I think, that business model. But anyways, after a few years in that business, a couple of things happened. One, I got pregnant. I was married at the time and I got pregnant, and we were going to have a baby, which does change things.
Absolutely.
In business. And my husband had at the time a full-time corporate job elsewhere. So we were not doing the business together.
Right.
And I was doing it independently. I did have a store manager at the time, and she unfortunately left. We're still good friends today, but just based on the circumstances that came up in her life, she left a few weeks before my son was born. And so it made it very difficult for me on the business side to be running a business with a newborn without having a manager to operate the business.
Right. Absolutely.
So I could see on the surface, like outwardly, there's a lot of obstacles that came into view. But what also happened, interestingly, was that I stumbled into a Bob Proctor seminar. So it was kind of all of these things accumulating at the same time, where life and business were changing. Things were changing. There was new competition entering in the marketplace. There's stuff happening in my business and in my personal life that was causing me to just question a little bit about where I was and where this was meant to be the right purpose, the right path for me. And that's kind of when I stumbled into the Bob Proctor seminar. For those who aren't familiar with Bob Proctor, he's 86, I think now. He just turned 86 years old. Yeah, so he's one of the top teachers in the world on personal development, success, and using our thoughts to change our actions and results in life. He lives here in Toronto, not too far from me. But that was my stumbling into this a bit of another world, which is where I decided to gravitate my career to, is kind of now helping. I decided to leave my retail business. After discovering this, I jumped in 2 feet into training and learning how to be a coach in people within this field of, I call it holistic life and mindset, positive psychology, reprogramming changing our results in our life by changing by thoughts and actions. So it's kind of this holistic view, but it's really digging into this deeper place, really digging into our thoughts and our mind. And I think the reason I jumped in 2 feet into that, and I felt comfortable changing my career path at that moment, even though I had invested so much time and money. If anyone who has a physical business, franchise or not, franchise, you have to pay the franchise fee to start, but either way, there's a lot of investment in a physical business. Even though I had invested so much time and money into that, it was so apparently clear that it wasn't aligned with some of my values. It wasn't aligned with some of my desires, some of my strengths. And once I could see the things differently, I was like, oh, it's easy to make a decision.
Right.
Instead of being tied back to all my fears or past, but I put so much into this, I can't let it go. That's not a reason to keep it. That's just a reason, that's a fear. So it was really interesting for me to kind of go through that experience. This was now about 4.5 years ago, so it was a little while ago now, but that was my initial experience into understanding this deeper layer of thinking and how it affected my actions and results. And now that's what I do pretty much. Almost that's my primary focus now, is really coaching individuals and businesses through these programs, through very specific step-by-step systems and programs to change their thoughts and actions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because I think that happens a lot in business, is that we start something and then we have this fear of letting it go even when it's successful or even when it's not. And, there's a lot of society that plays in that. I know that I experienced that when I had sold my retail business as well, because people couldn't understand why I was letting it go. They were like, it's successful, you like it? And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired of people. Like, I'm just done. Like, but it was a obscure concept to them of, why would you leave something that's stable for something that's not? And I think that fear and overcoming that fear is a hard thing. So how have you been able to do that? Like, to overcome the fear of letting something go, or the doubt that we get in making changes in business?
For sure. That's a really good topic. And I think I might add to it a little bit from my experience, because my business, just to add to the fear piece, or
absolutely,
that was my business with my baby being born and the marketplace changing and the environment, my business was declining. So which outwardly would say, okay, well, that makes it more sense why you could see how it's not working anymore. But after applying all of the stuff that I'd been learning, within about 6 weeks and implementing it with myself and my team, my staff, sales turned around, and now we were going up 20%. So if I wanted to keep the business, I could now see the potential of how I could change it if I wanted to. Like, I now had this different level of belief that I was like, okay, now I can see
I can make it more successful.
I could make it work if I wanted to. But so sort of, I'll tell you my example, because I was so clear on my values and my like a deeper level of purpose. Like purpose is a whole topic on itself, but like I was I had a lot more clarity on values, which I think I'm going to talk about for a minute, because I think it really helps us with
absolutely.
But because I was clear on my values and my desires and my vision, like I had a new vision, that even though I could see things evolving and changing, and I thought that was what I wanted, it's so easy to let it go. It's so the overcoming of fear, the ability to let something go. There's a few different things that come to mind, but one of them is we have to know what we value. We have to know what we really want. Our goal, we have to have not the goal that we think we want, not the goal that my parents said I should have, not the goal that society thinks I should have. We have to have clarity on our values. We have to really know what we want and be clear on that. We have to learn the secret magic mental move of decision making, which I can share about too.
Yes, absolutely.
We have to live in a place of a deeper level of gratitude, because that shifts our emotions. Like, that shifts us to be thinking of, oh, we do have enough. There is enough. Like, I can shift when I'm in a grateful state. I'm living as a great gratitude's got, the word gratitude sometimes sounds really fluffy, but there's a depth to it that I'm referring to. That it changes how we see the world, and we can make decisions from a place of abundance, like of seeing enough, rather than making a place of lack of, oh, there might not be enough, so I should. So it kind of, those would be the four top things that come to mind, and then let me know which one you think you want to chat on. It was values, goals, decision making, and kind of.
Well, and I think goals is a big thing for a lot of people, because we kind of get muddled, and I think a lot of people get muddled in trying to figure out the difference between what they truly want versus what they think they should want. So can we delve a little bit into that? Because I think that's where people get stuck. They go, this is kind of what I really want, but so-and-so is going to think this, or so-and-so injects this piece into it. And then it gets lost in this, plate of spaghetti of all of this thing. So give us some tips on how we can really hone in on what that true goal is.
So there's a couple of different things. I think based on the way you worded that question, which is so true, that it wasn't just like, I don't know what I want. It's that, which most people haven't really done the full depth of work on getting clear what they really want. But you also had mentioned what other people might think, what society might suggest.
Right.
That's more than just what I want. So I will talk about how to think about what you want, but I also want to address this what a society suggests that I should want, what other people in my life think that maybe I should want. So before the goals piece, I think those other pieces are where you have to dig into values. Like what I mean by that is, well, maybe I'll even ask you to think about this, is if I asked you where you spend the majority of your time and the majority of your money today, not what you think you should or shouldn't, where you currently spend your time and money, what your environment is surrounded by, like, is it books or horror movies? Like, but where are you spending your time and your money, and then the kind of what your environment looks like? I don't know if you want to, do you want to share?
Yeah.
Like, about that?
Yeah. For me, I would say the majority, my time is really split. I used to be very, the majority of my time was spent in my businesses. And now I've really been able to step away from that. And now I spend, I would say, like a quarter of my time on my businesses and 3/4 with my family. Mainly because at this particular point, I have a son who's 13 and the years are going very, very fast to the point where he's not going to want to believe I exist in the world. So I'm trying to get as much time with him as I possibly can before I'm uncool again.
I'm so cool right now. My son's only 5.
Oh, yes.
He's like, oh, your mommy, come hold my hand and be with me. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna miss this one day. But yes, I love that you just shared that. And also you shared the awareness of it changing, like from where you were to where you are now. But wherever you're currently spending your time and money is where you're showing through your actions what you show through your actions that you value.
Right.
So ask someone what do you value, they're probably going to say, either family, my health, my religion, like there's things that they value. Work will be on there somewhere, maybe not. But typically where they're actually spending their time and money is not aligned with what they either want to value or what they think they should value.
Right.
Society suggests that I should value having a tidy home, and therefore I should spend time tidying my home. But yet it may not be a true value of that person. That this is a still funny example because it's not. I don't mean to say it's right or wrong, but there's a whole kind of analysis like that we have to do. We don't all have the same values. We got to figure out what we value, not what society says we should value or what our parents implied that we should value. Or how we were raised will affect what we think we should or shouldn't do, and just spend some time thinking, like, where am I currently spending my time and money, and is it aligned with what I really want, where I want to spend my time and money? Because that's the foundation. You kind of have to know that before you pick your goals.
Right.
Because if you pick a goal and then you don't realize, oh, that's going to take 100 hours a week of time, but I really value relaxing and going to the gym and vacationing, then you're going to have a conflict.
Right.
I'm either not going to achieve my goal or I'm not going to fulfill my values because they aren't aligned. And to be honest, values always win. So unfortunately what happens is they don't meet their goals because their values stand and win. So let's figure out what our values are so we can pick a goal that lines up with what we truly want to value, not kind of like clouding that. So that's kind of the starting point would be values.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No, and I agree with that because I think it's very true is that a lot of times people will pick these pie-eyed dreams because they think that's what they're supposed to want, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to want the fame and the fortune and that old story. Mm-hmm. And I even remember being like that when I was younger. Like I wanted this huge company and I wanted it to be big and I wanted to have all these employees and it was great and I got it. And then when I had it, I was like, this is not fun.
Right. And so that's like your example. I'm not sure if this is the same business you're referring to, but the example of selling the business,
right.
Business, maybe that was a different one, but when you're able to sell it, when you know it's not aligned, whether you consciously or unconsciously know that it's not aligned with your values. You're like, you said, I don't want to do it anymore. You're like, okay, this isn't fulfilling me anymore. It means it's not aligned with kind of where I want to spend my time and money.
Yeah. And I found for me too, like when we were talking about the society piece, I found like when I was selling that business, it was interesting because I knew that it was a decision that I had made and I was very happy with the decision. I knew that it was time to let it go. And so I was fine with it. But all those people that were coming to me and saying, how could you do that? I was turning the question around to them of saying, how do you feel about your business? Because I found a lot of it was just people saying, I want to do that, but I don't feel like I can. So you're crazy for doing it.
100%, for sure. We often reflect in others something that's inside of us as well. That happened when I left my 9-to-5 corporate. Was people were like, you're going to open a business? You're going to leave this safe thing that I thought you were going to be here forever. I thought you were a lifer. Like you're going to go. But then several of them were saying, and then they even admitted to me, I also want to, I would love to kind of be an entrepreneur or branch out or do my own thing or open a business, but I couldn't because, or I just don't think I could do that. I'm not the type of person who's cut out to do that, which is a whole other story. But it was also them reflecting, they thought I was crazy, but they also really wanted to do it a little bit. They were just like, it's like understanding people's inner feelings, not just the words they're saying to you that are affecting how you think, I guess, about the situation.
Yeah. So if someone is sitting there and so they've got their values and they have some goals that are aligning with it, what's the next step that they should take with that then?
So what I will actually spend a moment on then is the goals part, actually.
Absolutely.
Once you get the values, then you're more equipped to pick a goal that is not going to be compromising your values. So I actually like to say there's kind of 4 types of goals, like in this world. The first one is no goals. And if you don't know where you're aiming, it's pretty hard to hit the target. But 9 out of 10 people you ask on the street, what is your goal in life? Like, it's not, I mean, a big goal. They might know, like, oh, I want to go to the gym this afternoon. Like, that's a small thing, but like a really big goals for the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. Most people don't have it clearly defined. So no goals is one of the 4 because that's commonly where people end up. We don't want to be there. The first actual type of goal is actually, I would call it like a memory goal. So it's where you pick a goal that you want to achieve based on your memory. I've done it before, therefore I know how to do it. Again, I can connect all the dots because I know the exact plan from here to here because I have done it before. So literally it's picking things that are based on your memory. I love the example of a car because it's a simple one. If you've, and it could even be a business, like perhaps, but if it's a car, you own a car, you've purchased a car before, you want to purchase a new car. I'm not saying don't do this, by the way. Like you can do this. This can be on your task list, but just don't call it your big goal.
Right.
Your big goal cannot be based on your memory because then you will only repeat what you've done before.
Right.
But
you're not branching out.
Who are like logical thinkers who can't think beyond where they've been and they wonder why they're not getting further ahead. It's because their goals are based on where they've been. So again, don't mean don't do it. You may still do that. You can still purchase a new car, even if it's slightly nicer, but you know how to do it. So it's not going to require you to grow. It's not going to require you to really get uncomfortable and like do things that are different than what you've done before. So that's memory goals. The second type of goal, this is where you're not relying on your memory because you haven't done it before completely, but you can logically connect the dots. So it's logical goals. This is where most business, like corporations, SMART goals, specific, measurable, realistic, time bound, SMART goals are kind of based on this logic place. Sometimes they might be memory or logic, like a SMART goal. And they have their place, and we need some of those in our life. They will be a stepping stone to where we're actually going. But logical goals are so dangerous. They're so dangerous because we are relying on logic. So we are relying only on the understanding that we have up until where we are right now. We might be thinking of things we haven't done before, but we are still using our own mind and logic to be able to make the plan. So we have a plan from point A to B. I've never done a bunch of these things before, but I think I can. I know how, I know who knows how, I know if I do that, and when I get that thing and this person does that thing, for sure, I can achieve that goal.
Right.
And it's easy to get stuck there because like who would be crazy enough to pick a goal that you don't know how to get to?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Right, of course. So, and again, I do believe there are places where we will need this type. It's one of the things, but the reason I said that they are so dangerous is because we are not motivated by some deep pull and some emotional desire, we created this like logical plan, and it sounds like a nice thing, but we picked the goal because it makes the logic, not because it is, which is the next level of goal, what we actually really want.
Right. It's that one you're going to be able to check off the list.
Yes, but here's what also happens, Tanya, is that people who set this in this logic goal that they think they know how to do, they make a plan, they physically absolutely can check it off the box, but oftentimes they end up not checking off the box because they're not motivated, inspired when obstacles appear.
Right.
When things that aren't on the plan come up, they're like, oh, I guess maybe that wasn't meant to be, or maybe I'm not supposed to do this, or it's too hard, or let's do something else, or they'll procrastinate, or they'll have fear, worry, and doubt, and they'll have all sorts of things that stop them even from achieving the logical one, which is totally attainable, but it's because they are not emotionally driven by the right reasons. They're not being pulled like a magnet towards it, so it's so easy to quit. So easy to do logical goals. So the third type of goal, third type of actual goal, other than the no goals, like 1, 2, and 3, is vision goals. And that's where you're actually going after what you truly want. And this is where I suggest people, it's hard for a lot of people, which is why I chat about gratitude. That's a way to get yourself into a mental space where you're able to really dream big. Because some people just can't dream big because they haven't had that in their life up until now, and they aren't able to think that far ahead even. But this is where you think, like, no matter what I've done in the past, whatever failures have had, what I think I'm good at or not good at, where I really can spend some time just thinking about what do I truly want from my life, from my family, what kind of impact do I want to have. And I think like this idea of vision goals, there is like a broad vision that might be like the legacy I want to have in the world. That might be 10 years, 5, 10, like there's a longer term vision. But what I'm actually referring to is like, think about that too, but I'm actually referring to a vision goal that's maybe a year away. Like, so I'm not talking about just your life vision, which is, like I said, longer term, but like actually dreaming, writing something down, writing it down. Got to write it down. Tip of the day, if you have a goal, people with goals who write it down are like 100 times more likely, there is a statistic, I forget the number, it's probably more than that, more likely to achieve it simply because they've written it down and they have it in a place where they see it. So
yes. With a pen and paper. It has to be pen and paper. It cannot be typing.
Totally.
People go, I type my goal every day. And I'm like, no, you have to physically write it. So it becomes muscle memory.
And like thousands more neural pathways are created when you physically write with your hand. Mm-hmm. So I totally align with you on that one. But yeah, so setting this idea of a vision goal that reflects your values, that's inspirational, that is noticeable, you can see the difference, that you're really inspired by, that you're motivated by, you don't know how to do it, so it scares you because you don't have all the logical dots connected, but it's something you really truly want. And but it has to be a stretch. It forces you to stretch, and it's hard for a lot of people to think that in a 1-year time frame. Like people can think of their vision that's 10 years away because it's like so far away that
they don't have to work on it just yet.
I don't have to do anything this morning. It's like not for 10 years. But if it's a year away, if it's 6 months away, like, okay, I probably should take some action today to get to this vision that I don't know how to achieve yet. That's only 6 to 12 months away. But if it's motivated by the right reasons and it's aligned with your values, then people I like to call it like a magnet, like it pulls you. And that's what one of the top things that most successful people do is they're guided by the vision, not by reality. If you're guided by reality, then when you fail, you stay down, or you get stuck, or you keep repeating the same cycles over and over again, or when you're guided by the vision, then it pulls you, and you can continue to see and feel what it would be like, what it will be like, not would be like, but it will be like when you're over there. I keep using my hands, but I know people who are listening to this aren't going to be able to see me. And I get super passionate about this. I'm going to calm down a little. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I think that's fantastic. And I think it's true because I think, realistic goals are just that. They're something that can happen. And I like the wording of the vision goal because it's something that either hasn't been invented yet or even hasn't been invented in your own mind. And then there's no limitations on it. Mm-hmm. Those are where passion comes out of, is when there's no limitations. So tell us a little bit about, if somebody wanted to work with you, what type of stuff would you help them with? Obviously all the stuff we talked about, but what else?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, let's see how I position it. I would say like the foundation for starting place for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, is literally to 30 days. Like I usually do a short window of time to kind of be like a light switch. We need to do this light switch of getting out of our reality of, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, things aren't going right. Like even positive people, even people who are positive and motivated, if you listen to your thoughts, they're still often like, oh, but I don't have enough time. Or there's like this just constant clutter of not enough.
Right.
And there's a deeper root behind that. So I think, so I literally help people usually in a fairly short window of time to start with that switch first, to actually be able to have more time, to have more money. Like you can create those changes, but also change your feelings towards those things. Because with that starting point, with that as the foundation, it's like stress, anxiety, it's relationships, it's health, it's all areas of life, not just business. It kind of is this bigger view of just literally changing how you think and how you see the world and how you see yourself. With that as the foundational starting point, so many more things become possible. Like you can achieve anything when your life can start, when you start from, that's how you see the world. And that's how, not just because it sounds nice that you see the world that way, because your thoughts create your actions. And when you have different actions and behaviors and different habits, those actions, behaviors, and habits change the results you get in your business, in your health, and relationships, in your life. So the switch sounds like it might just be nice to feel that way, but it literally, and I have so many testimonies, like even in that short window of time, of how dramatically it changes people's actions, and then it changes the results you're getting in life. So that's kind of like the foundation, I would say, that I almost always have people start there.
Right.
And then we actually, I got a variety of different programs, but we work on vision. So we work on both helping people clarify their purpose for their business or their life, depending on which angle they want to go on. They're getting really clear on their vision, so that it's like, it's got to meet these criteria, so that, and it's in the way you write it, the way you think about it. We work on beliefs, self-image, actions, habits, influence, leadership. So there's quite a wide range of concepts, and it kind of depends on each person and their goals and what they need. But essentially, it's all designed to do two things. One, figure out where you want to really go, and two, understand why you are where you are right now, why you're not there, and then bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go.
That's awesome. Yeah. So where's the best place for people to find you and to discover more about how they can work with you?
So I would say probably my website would be a starting place. It's NicoleKernohan.com. It's NicoleKernohan.com, NicoleKernohan.com. But also reach out by email. It's the same name, email, Nicole.Kernohan@outlook.com. A lot of dots and Nicole's in it, but Nicole.Kernohan@outlook.com. And just reach out, because I'd love to offer free 20-minute conversations. If someone like is listening to this and is resonating, like, I need to understand more about this, or how can I figure out what does she actually do? How does it actually work? I love to just listen to individuals, figure out what they truly need, and then we can kind of take it from there and see if there is a fit. Then I can share a little bit more personally, kind of what they need. So I do offer free. I mean, I have a time capacity, but hopefully by the number of people who listen to this, that we'd be able to meet that as well.
That's perfect. And we'll make sure we link to all of that as well on all of our posts, so that people can just have a quick click to be able to find you. So
yes, sure.
Since you've had such a range of different stuff in your experience, and the majority of our listeners are entrepreneurs, what is one piece of advice that you found the most valuable in business that you could share with our listeners?
That's really good. I'm just going to go with what's coming up for me in this exact moment.
Absolutely.
I have so many fabulous pieces of advice that I've heard and I've implemented. But what's coming up for me in this moment, which I don't think is what I shared with you before, Tanya, but is this single mental move that I mentioned at the beginning. There's literally a single mental move that if we can learn how to do this, if we can learn how to do this consistently and effectively, it can change everything in our lives. And there's a name for it. It's called decision. The ability to make and stick to our decisions. Successful people in business and in life, but we'll use business. If you think of successful entrepreneurs that you know, and yourself, we have to develop the ability to make a decision with incomplete information, make a decision with what we know, what we have at this moment, and stick to it. And then change it rarely, if at all. And if we do change it, it's because we have a valid reason to change it instead of just changing it because we're scared or fearful or doubtful or worried like that. So I really think that the value of being able to make kid-made decisions, we're not taught how to do that in school. I have an article, actually. I'd be happy to, if you want to link it into the podcast as well.
Absolutely.
It's from Bob Proctor, but it's like magical. Just read this article over and over and over again. It gives you some really good tips in there. But yeah, the ability to make and stick to decisions in advance. And I also would say, like, making a decision before you know how. Okay, make a decision to get to that vision goal, even though you don't have the time and you don't have the money and you don't know how you're going to do it yet. Successful people make the decision in advance, and then because all this stuff doesn't matter until you make a decision.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how you're going to get there until you decide to get there. So it's really all about this idea of being able to make decisions effectively. That's what I'm going to go with for today.
I love that. And yes, please do. We'll make sure that we link to that article so people can read more about that as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with us. I think there's so much that people are going to be listening to this over and over again to dissect everything that we went through.
There's a lot of dissection. Repeat. That's the secret sauce. Repeat. You gotta listen to things and learn things over and over again for it to change.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming on, and I look forward to staying connected with you in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me. Talk to you soon.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and got something that made your mind work and inspired you to make change today, no matter how big or how small. I encourage you to head over to our Facebook and Instagram pages and let me know, what was it that got your mind running? What was it that inspired you? I would love to hear from you. And as a reminder, every Tuesday, we are going live to talk about collaborations and your business. So you can always tune in and you can find the previous episodes of our lives as well. And you can just head over to Facebook and Instagram to find those. And as always, if at any time you have any questions or are just wondering something, I love getting your messages. So you can head to our website at foxtalksbusiness.ca and find all of the ways that you can connect with me. So no matter what you're doing today, whether you're changing your goals completely or just sitting down and enjoying the day, make sure you have some fun, because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?